Hello, hello. Happy Thursday. I'm April Davis with April Davis Creations, and this is my Thursday night to go class. I'm so excited to have you joining me. Lots of things to talk about tonight, but first I'm just double checking to make sure that I've actually gone live. The software that I utilize for this has gone through some updates. Oh, there I am. So everything's good. It's getting better and better all the time. I'm so excited. Anyway, again, this is Thursday. It's September 26th, and I'm April Davis. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin Up, and this is my Thursday night Facebook Live to go class. I'll tell you more about that in just a second. If you happen to be joining me tonight, please do say hello. Say hello in the comments just so that I know that you're there. And I love it when you ask me questions or you tell me that you like something or even give me suggestions of something that I might change. I love that as well. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to actually just do some updates first. Before we actually get started. You guys are used to that, but I want to share with you what's going on with Stampin' Up! Right now. So first and foremost, I want to remind everybody that we have the Paper Pumpkin special going on right now. Paper Pumpkin is a subscription kit, and right now through the 10th of October, they have a special that when you subscribe to Paper Pumpkin, you're going to get your first Paper Pumpkin at 40% off. The Paper Pumpkin kits are right at about $25. So 40% off is going to save you $10. You're going to get your first kit for $15. And this is kind of a little sneak peek of what it is. If you do decide to go with Paper Pumpkin, be sure when you're signing up to use the code HOLIDAY40, and that will then get you that 40% off on the first shipment, and then you are billed for your shipments every month following that. So this is a month-to-month subscription. We also have where you can purchase 3 months in advance, 6 months in advance, 12 months in advance. This is not for that. This is just for the month-to-month subscription. Okay, let me shrink this down, and I wanted to share with you that starting October 1st, can you believe this is the end of September? Oh my goodness. October is just around the corner, but exciting. We have a starter kit special. I'm going to talk more about that probably next week when the special actually starts, but just this kind of a sneak peek, you're going to get $155 worth of product for just $99. $155 worth of product of your choice. You get to pick what you want for $99. That's like $50 in free products. So I'll go into that more next week when it starts, but I just wanted to kind of give you a sneak peek of what's coming. All right, then I'm going to go here. And now I'm at the Stampin' Up website, and I wanted to share with you that Stampin' Up just added a lot of new things to their clearance rack. So here's where you would go, www.stampinup.com, category special clearance. Go there and they'll have all the items that are on clearance. You've got designer series paper, you've got gems. Look, I mean, these gems, $3.20. The designer series paper, normally $12.50, on sale for, or on clearance, I guess, for $5. Ribbon on clearance for $3.60. I mean, if you're looking to stock up on some designer series paper and some ribbon, I'm looking, we've got some dies that are on sale or on clearance, but lots and lots of things on clearance, 3 pages worth of things on clearance. So I wanted to bring that to your attention as well, because this is only good through while supplies last, but they just loaded up earlier this week. So there's still a lot of stuff that is on clearance. All right, let's go to my website, aprildaviscreations.com. And here, I wanted to point out the classes. We've got the to-go class, which is what we've got going on tonight. And then I also want to talk about the Create Happiness Club. So in order to talk about the Create Happiness Club, we'll only go to it first. And then what I'll do is I'll share with you what we're doing this month. The Create Happiness Club is every every other month. So there's 6 a year. And I'll share with you what's coming out in November. But basically the Create Happiness Club, just so that you're aware, is a subscription club. It's only every other month, and you will receive everything that you need. So I'm going to go into this here in just a second, but I wanted to point this out so that you are aware of where you can go to read up on the Create Happiness Club before you make the decision that you want to participate. So let me come back to you. Let me see how I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring up my desktop, if you will, and I'm going to share with you the fun cards that we're doing in the Create Happiness Club this month, or for November. So this is a fun fold card. We are utilizing the Winterly Treetops bundle for this, and the designer series paper. And I don't know, these cards, I just had so much fun with them. They're gorgeous. They're just gorgeous. Look at this one. Isn't that pretty? And then we've got another one. I incorporated a lot of different colors into it. Another fun fold. And then this one also is a fun fold that opens up like this. Okay, so these are all the cards that you're going to create. There's 5 of them in the Create Happiness Club. And one of the things that I do in the club is I kind of step the cards up a bit. So these are not your very simple cards. These are cards that are going to take a little bit more time and effort. You're going to get everything you need, all of the cardstock that you need. You're going to get designer series paper. Basically what I do is I give you a 6 by 12 full pack. So I take this 12 by 12 pack, cut it in half, and you're going to get half of that pack in your kit. And then you're also going to get a set of embellishments in the kit. In addition to the cardstock, the designer series paper, the embellishments, you're going to get a written tutorial. It's a PDF tutorial. And I also create a playlist. So I recreate every one of these cards, record it, and when you get your tutorial, you also get the playlist, so you can actually watch me creating the cards as well, along with the tutorial. So this is in effect, or I should say that, how do I want to say this? The subscription period ends on October the 10th. How hard was that? So be sure to subscribe before October the 10th. There's a link in my website that you can subscribe. And then those of you that are already members of my subscription club, I will be invoicing you on October the 1st for the club. So you don't need to do anything. It's just those that are interested in joining the club or the subscription club now will need to go out to my website. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my website up here again so that you can see it, but go out to my website and the link is there so that you can subscribe. So that's what's going on right now. I think that's all I'm going to do with respect to announcements that I've got. I'm going to bring in the cards that I'm making. So last week I utilized the Potions and Spells stamp set. I am utilizing that stamp set again tonight. The cards for this are just so fun. And so I went ahead and decided that I was going to utilize this again. I'm pairing it with the greetings of the season, not so much the greetings, but the dies that go with it, the bundle. I'm utilizing several of these dies. It's kind of fun to have dies that you can utilize for any stamp set that you want because they are labels and tags and banners. So I'm going to couple it with this and let me show you the cards. So this is card number 1, a Happy Halloween card. And then we've got another little card called A Little Hocus Pocus. And then the other thing that I did is I created a 3D project. So we've got our little mini Frankenstein that is holding some yummy candy corn. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna actually start with our Hocus Pocus. And let me bring that kit out so we can talk about what's in that kit. So we've got our Granny Apple Green cardstock. I've got a piece of basic black cardstock. I've got some basic white cardstock. And then I've got all the pieces that go with this that I've already prepped some of it. So we've got some Granny Apple Green for our label. We've got our cat that we're gonna do a little bit more with. I don't know if you can tell or not. I'm gonna try to get the light on it just right. But basically what I did before I die cut my cat is I stamped it with Versamark ink, and then I embossed it, and so that gave the cat some definition, if you will, and we're gonna add some eyes to it here in just a second. And then I've been utilizing this Thoughtful Journey Designer Series paper. This Designer Series paper is so fun. I'll pull out just some of the pieces, but you can utilize either side. But it's been so fun. And so basically what I did for my broom is I used some of this Designer Series paper and was able to cut out my broom. And then I used the pecan pie to cut out my broom handle. So we're gonna start to assemble all of that. But the first thing that we need to do is we need to create our moon effect. So what I did is I took a piece of basic white, I took a Post-it note, and I've got the kind of Post-it notes, this one happens to be pink, but you can get Post-it notes so that the Post-it note basically is, the entire Post-it note is covered with sticky. I use those for my masks. And so this is how this has been done. And I'm gonna look for my take your pick. Looking for my take your pick, which I thought was here. I guess I'll use, yeah, I got it. And I'm gonna take now this piece of Post-it note off, and it's now going to become a mask. I really don't need the white piece. What I did is with that, and I'm gonna pull this off, it's really sticky. But basically what I did is I punched it with my 2 3/8 inch punch, circle punch. So laid the Post-it note down on my piece of basic white and then punched it. So now I have a mask for my moon. So I don't need this. I'm gonna put it off to the side. And I'm gonna set my mask down here in the center, basically. I think that's good. And then I'm gonna bring in my Blackberry Bliss, and I'm gonna bring in my blending brush. And I'm gonna start to blend to create this moon effect. So let me go ahead and get this opened. I'm blending on my glass mat. I love my glass mat because I can tap off. You wanna start off the paper and just start to blend onto it so you don't have a lot of markings on it, I guess. You want it to be pretty smooth. And the Blackberry Bliss ink is a very dark ink. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to pick up some of the ink that was on my glass mat. So I'll do this, but I want to do the whole card. So I'm going to tap this off again. I'm going to touch in the middle so I'm not getting too much ink on my hand. And then I'm gonna bring more of this in. And you can see that if you're not careful and if you push too hard, you can get more ink than you need. Now the good news for me is that I know that I've got a cat and some books going in this area, so I'm not too terribly worried about it, but you want to try to avoid that. And the other thing that you can do, and I'm actually not gonna go that dark with this time, but you can continue to add more and more ink to it. Now the other thing I'm trying to do is I do want a little bit of texture to it because I want it to be a little spooky. I mean, this is a Halloween card, so I want it to be a little spooky. So if there's a little bit of definition to it, I'm not really worried about that because again, my goal is not to make it that smooth. I just want to make sure that it's covered. I want to have kind of a moon effect. And I'm just going to go a little bit darker right along the top here. And then I think I'm going to call it good. So I think I'm good here. So let me get this cleaned up before we move forward because I have made a nice little mess on my glass mat. The Blackberry Bliss is definitely a darker ink. All reds, I tend to end up having more on my fingers than not. But I'm gonna use my chamois that actually came with my glass mat, and I'm just gonna use that to clean up this. I haven't wasted any paper. You could have done this on paper, but I don't need to do that because I can do it on my glass mat, which is available in our online exclusives. If you go out to the online exclusives at the stampinup.com website, you actually can search for the glass mat and get your own glass mat. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my take your pick, and I'm gonna pick up that mat, and now I have my moon. So let me get this out of the way. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start to do some additional stamping. So basically what's gonna happen is I know that my black cat, I'm gonna bring it back in for just a second. I know that my black cat is gonna go basically right about here because I'm gonna be setting it up on some books. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the little stars that come with the set, and I'm gonna use some blackberry ink as well. And this time what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to stamp where my stars would go around my black cat. And I'm also going to take my label, and I'm just gonna put my label where I feel like I want it to go. So it's gonna go right about here. So where I want my stars to go are right around here. So I'm just gonna stamp that up a little bit. I'm gonna bring in some scrap paper just to kind of stamp off for a bit. And then what I can decide is, do I wanna do first generation or second generation? Or maybe I decide that I wanna do a combination thereof. So I'm gonna try to get my stamp set, or my stamp lined up so that my diamonds are going up and down. So I'm in the process of just kind of moving that a little bit since I'm holding the block a certain way rather than try to angle the block. I hope I'm making sense. I just want my diamonds up and down. And because I'm holding the block the way that I am, my diamonds aren't necessarily quite straight, but we're getting there. All right, so I'm gonna stamp off a little bit, and then I'm gonna go ahead and ink up again, and I'm gonna put some sparkle there, and then I'm gonna come up here, and I just stamped off, so I'm gonna put some sparkle there, and then I can maybe put a little bit darker sparkle over here, and then I will do some sparkle over here with the stamp off. So I've kind of got a variety of my sparkle as I'm doing this, and I'll put my cat up here. All right, so let me clean this off, and we will work on stamping some other things. But we've got our background created. I'm gonna close up this blackberry ink, Blackberry Bliss ink. Okay. All right, let's see, what are we gonna do next? I think let's go ahead and let's take our basic white cardstock, and I'm going to stamp the books that we're going to set the cat on. They need to be stamped in the Memento Black ink, which I thought was here. So I'm gonna step away for just a quick second. It's right over here. All right, so we've got our Memento Black ink, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that because we're gonna be doing some coloring with our Stampin' Blends. So let's go ahead and get that stamped up. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm putting a mat underneath this so that I get a good cushion to this stamp. Since I'm using the acrylic stamps, I wanna make sure, or the photopolymer stamps, I should say, that I need a little bit of cushion to it. So let's go ahead and get this cleaned off, and we're gonna color. And I'm going to bring in a few different colors. Let me see, I'm gonna bring in some Granny Apple Green. I'm gonna bring in some Smoky Slate, and I'm gonna bring in some of my Light Berry Burst. So let's go ahead and color these in. And again, I mean, it's just simple coloring. I'm just coloring books, so there's not a lot to it, but let's go ahead and get these done. And I've got a little space in between here. I'm gonna try to do. All right, so we've got that one done. And then I'm gonna do the green down at the bottom with the potions book. So we'll go ahead and get this. Not a lot of coloring to do, but I did want my books. And I've actually got a book in my next one, and I'll show you I do it totally different. But we'll get to that one when I might do the next card. And then I'm not gonna really worry about these other ones. I am gonna put some borders around them. So this one's got this border, and I'm using my bullet tip, and I'm doing a very light touch, because if I go too heavy on it, then it will bleed into the rest of the book. And I don't really want it to bleed into the rest of the book. I just want it to be basically the cover of the book. And then I'm gonna do this last one in, I just picked up Misty Moonlight, which is a blue. So again, same thing. I'm just, because you can't see the side because the pages are showing, I'm going to attempt to very lightly get the border of this book done. I'm barely touching it. It's making me nervous because it's so thin. Okay, let's get this side done. There we go. Okay, books are done. Whew. All right, so let me see. Do I have to die cut anything else? No, just the books. So let's go ahead and move this off to the side. And I'm gonna bring in my little bitty mini cut and emboss and my dies for the books. Let's see, I've already got them out. And so I'm gonna take a little bit of my mint tape and go ahead and line this up the way that I need to. All right, and then I've got my plates, my sandwich plates. So we'll go ahead and get this through. So now we've got that. I'll move this off to the side. And one more thing we need to do to piece this together, and that is I need to emboss. I'm going to emboss my sentiments. So here are our books. So we're ready to they're ready to go when we get ready to assemble. I'm gonna bring in my tag. And this tag I'm going to stamp with Versamark ink. So I'm gonna bring my Versamark in, and I've got my stamp that says a little hocus pocus. I'm going to line it up here because it wasn't very straight on my stamp or my block. Get that a little bit straighter. And then when I'm embossing, because I've been dealing with this tag, I've been touching it, it has like my oils from my hands and such on it. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my embossing buddy, which is just a little bag that's got some powder in it, but it helps to, you know, remove any static electricity, any oils that you might have on your fingers. And then what I can do is when I go to stamp, and I'm looking for my embossing powder. I know it's here. Oh, it's right under my card. Okay, so let me get it stamped first. So I'm just gonna tap it in the ink, slide this down just so that I can see. Hopefully you guys can see too, but I wanna get it centered the best I can. All right, so we've got this here. So we've got it stamped. That looks great. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my tweezers that have like a silicone end to it, and I'm going to dip my tag into my embossing powder. So I'm going to move this off to the side, pick up my tag with my tweezers, just dip that in, makes it very easy. I'm going to give it a second coat just to make sure I got it covered. But you can see now that there's no extra embossing powder clinging to my tag because I used my embossing buddy. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close this up, move these things out of the way, and I'm going to bring my heat tool in. It's going to get a little loud for just a second. But what I want to tell you about when you're embossing, because heat embossing is not hard, it's actually really a lot of fun. However, if you overheat your powder, it will actually melt And that sounds funny because of course it's supposed to melt, but it will actually melt into your cardstock. So what you have to do when you're heat embossing is making sure that you stop just as you see the powder turn shiny. So let me get this going. I gotta heat my tool up for just a minute or a second. And then what we'll do is we'll bring it to the tag. So I'm gonna switch things around. And then I'm just watching for when it turns. And I'll try to show you the difference. Let me see if I can get this. Let me see if I can get the right angle on it for you guys to be able to see the shiny part, which is the darker part, versus the powder part, which is the lighter part. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna finish doing the rest of it. And now you can see that it's all gone to shiny. I stop just as soon as it turns, and now we have a nice embossed tag. All right, so let me move this stuff out of the way. I believe we can start assembling our card now. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to take our inked piece, basic white piece, and we're going to adhere it to the basic black piece. So let's go ahead and get that done. Make sure my glue is coming out. There we go. Got it. All right. So let's go ahead and get this lined up. And then for this card, I didn't do it on the last card, but for this card, I'm actually going to put the black on with dimensionals. Had a little bit of glue that came out the side, but it looks nice and even for me. So I'm happy about that. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my dimensionals. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put my black layer onto my Granny Apple Green layer. So let's go ahead and get these dimensionals on. And when I'm doing dimensionals, I wanna make sure that I have a lot of support to my card. So you can use as many or as little dimensionals as you want. I don't feel like I'm very stingy with my dimensionals, but I also don't feel like I go overboard with my dimensionals. I feel like that's good support for my dimensionals or my card base. So I'm gonna pull the backings off, and then you're gonna see me put more glue on this. I'm not putting glue on it because the dimensionals are not sticky. The dimensionals are very sticky, which is the problem. I am not very good when it comes to getting things on straight the first time. I have to have a little bit of wiggle room. So basically what I do is I just put a little bit of glue on the back of my dimensionals, and that will give me enough wiggle room so that if I don't happen to get my layer on straight the first time, I have a chance to move it around. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can get this lined up the way that I want it. And I can wiggle it just a little bit. I call it scooching. I'm gonna scooch a little bit here and scooch a little bit there. And now I feel like I have it where I want it to be. So let's go ahead and start building the rest of it. I'm also gonna put dimensionals on the back of my books. So we're gonna go ahead and put our books down. So let me do that. And we're just gonna put our books right down here at the bottom of the card. And then what we'll do is we will put the cat. But before I do the cat, I need to put some eyes on the cat. So I have, let me see if I can find it. I have a white gel marker. Now, Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell gel markers, but this is probably something that you would want to include in your repertoire of tools that you have, is a white gel marker. And basically what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna make sure it's flowing. So I'm just gonna do it on my little finger to make sure I've got a flow. And this little cat's got eyes. And so I'm going to try to highlight his eyes by adding just some gel to it. So I'm gonna do this side, and I'm basically going on each side of where it was embossed. So trying to Make sure I get it covered up. But there we go. So now my cat, with just a little bit of gel, my cat, my spooky cat, has some eyes. So we're going to adhere the cat to the card with dimensionals as well. I'm going to give the eyes just a little bit of a chance to dry. So while they're drying, I'm going to build my broom. So I cut the stem or the handle out of pecan pie, and I used the designer series paper to cut the broom itself. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of glue right along here so that I can glue my broom brush, I don't know what you call it, your broom, to here, my handle, my handle. So we'll let that dry, and while that's drying, I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of my cat. And actually, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but Stampin' Up! Has black dimensionals as well. They have the white dimensionals, and they come in 2 sizes. They come in the regular size and they come in the mini. But when you get black dimensionals, you get a combination pack. So you get mini black dimensionals and you get the large black dimensionals. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use black since my cat's black. And I want my cat to stand up, but at the same time, I don't want the white to be so predominant underneath my cat as you're turning the card. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put some dimensionals. Is that too big for the tail? I think I can make it fit. Perfect. All right. So we're going to use the black on the cat so you won't really be able to see the fact that I've got dimensionals on it. So let me go ahead and take these off. There we go. Whoops, sticky, sticky, sticky. All right, I'm going to move these off to the side. And then I can take my cat and I'm going to pop him up right about, I don't want to hide too much on my book, but I want him on top of the book. So we're going to put him right about here. Okay, awesome. Now what we'll do is we'll take the broom, and I'm not really going to pop the broom up. So before I put the broom down, I want to go ahead and put my tag down. My tag is going to be flat, and I'm going to nestle it in right around the little stars that we stamped on there. So let me go ahead and get this tag down. We're going to nestle it in right about here. Okay, making sure it's straight. It is straight. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my broom handle and I'm going to hide that little hole where the tag was. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put glue on the back of my broom. And thank goodness for my little precision tip glue bottle, because that broom handle is pretty skinny. So we'll go ahead and do that. Hopefully you guys can see. And then, like I said, I'm going to put this on so that my broom handle is hiding that. And then I'm going to angle it just a little bit so the broom's coming up here by the books. Okay, there we go. So we've hidden that. All right, so we're ready to, let's see, what are we doing next? I think the next thing to do is to add a little knot. And so my previous card, I actually did a bow, but I think this time around I'm going to do a knot. So I'm just going to take my black and white ribbon, and this black and white ribbon is, we have a new black and white ribbon, but I'm utilizing the ribbon that I have. In the catalog, it is a black and vanilla ribbon, but you can do the same thing with it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim off my edges here with my ribbon snips. And I like the way that looks. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a glue dot, pull my glue dots out, and I'm going to put a glue dot right there at the tip of where the broom is right there in the middle there. So I'm going to put the glue dot, and then what I can do is I can take my ribbon now, and I can just press it right on. So now it's adhered to my card. The last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some of these iridescent foil gems. And I'm just going to put a couple of these on. So I'm going to do maybe a big one up here. I'm going to do a smaller one here. Let's see, right about there. And I think I'm going to do another smaller one right about here. All right. So now this card is complete. How pretty is that? So pretty. Our little black cat, our broom, our books. Fun, fun, fun. I love this set for Halloween. All right, let's bring out card number 2. This card, Happy Halloween card. Here's the kit that we're going to utilize for it. We've got a basic white card base. We've got a layer of basic black. Basically what I've done is I've taken that designer series paper that I shared with you before and cut it into strips. Then I have another piece of basic black, and in fact it's this piece, I believe. Which piece is it? Nope, that's the right one. I have to stamp my cauldron on this, and we're going to die cut it out. Then I have to stamp my bubbles and my crow on this, and then I've got a piece for my sentiment. So let's go ahead and let's do our stamping first. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp the cauldron. Now, I've opted to stamp the cauldron on black. I could have done a gray cauldron, but I want a black cauldron. So what I'm utilizing for my ink is Stampin' Up! Has a white craft ink. This ink is a stickier ink. It doesn't dry as quickly as the other inks do, but it is a fun ink to utilize when you want to stamp on black. And I just want some detail for my cauldron. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink this up. Make sure I get plenty enough ink on it, and you can turn it over and you can look to see to make sure you've got everything inked up. And then I'm just going to take it and I'm going to stamp it down. And then we will actually be die cutting this. But I want to make sure that the ink has a chance to adhere to the cardstock. So I'm giving it not extreme pressure, I'm just giving it pressure, but I want to make sure I'm all the way around. And then I'm giving it just a few seconds so it can adhere. So now we have our black cauldron that has some highlights to it because of the ink. All right, let me go ahead and clean this up. Whoops, I gotta get the right case. We're gonna go ahead and clean this up with my Simply Shamming. And then we will die cut this in just a second. I've got a few other things to die cut. I'm going to put this off to the side. And now we're going to stamp the bubbles that are going to be coming out of the cauldron. And we're going to do that in the Memento Black. So I'm going to go ahead and put this off to the side. Get my bubbles all inked up. Make sure I get a good coating of the Memento Black on here. And we'll go ahead and we'll do our bubbles here. And then we have a crow that we are going to, got our bubbles, we're going to crow, we've got a stamp. So let me go ahead and clean this off of this stamp, and then we'll bring our crow out and stamp him. All right, so I've got that. And then I'm going to turn this around, and we're going to ink him up with the Memento Black again. Make sure I get a good coating on him. And then we're just going to place him right here. Okay, so now we get to do a bit more coloring. Good job. He looks good. He's a happy crow. He's not a scary crow. All right, so let me move this off to the side, get this Memento ink closed up. And I'm going to utilize the Stampin' Blends again. This time I'm utilizing the black Stampin' Blends. I'm actually going to start with the light black and see if that's going to be enough color for him. I don't want to go too dark with him because then I lose the detail. So yeah, I think the light is going to be perfect. So let's go ahead and get him colored in. I don't want to color his eyes, and I definitely don't want to color his beak in black. So I'm going to be very careful going around his eye. We've got that, and then I can come down here and let's get the rest of him colored in. All right. If I use this light black, then the stamping that I've done actually shows through, and you can kind of see some detail to his feathers. If I'd gone any darker, I think we would have missed that. So we've got that, and then I'm going to utilize the dark Daffodil Delight, and we're going to color in his feet. So I'm going to get those colored in, and then we'll color in his beak as well. So there's his feet, and then his beak is right here. And he's got a little bit of a tongue, teeny tiny bit of a tongue. So I'm going to attempt, I'm going to use my dark Berry Burst, and I'm just going to make his tongue red. Can't hardly even tell, but I did it. All right, so while I've got the Berry Burst out, now what I need to do is I need to start coloring in my bubbles. So my bubbles are going to be in Berry Burst, and they're going to be in Lost Lagoon. I think, though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the lighter colors on both of these. So light Berry Burst, light Lost Lagoon, and we're just going to very quickly color in these bubbles. And then we can actually, I won't be able to die cut this out. I'm going to have to fussy cut it. But I think fussy cutting bubbles will be fairly easy. So let's go ahead and get these bubbles drawn in. We're just going rogue as far as the colors. I mean, you don't know what the concoction is in this cauldron. It's a secret potion. And so the bubbles coming from the secret potion are Lost Lagoon and Berry Burst. So I don't know what kind of magic's behind it, but the colors are pretty. So let's go ahead and finish this. And what I'm doing is I'm avoiding the highlight. I'm not coloring that so that there's just like a little bit of highlight to the bubble as I'm coloring this, since the stamp has already got that in there. So let me go ahead. I think I'm good there. The rest of them are going to be in the Berry Burst. So let's go ahead and get those colored up, and then we can start to die cut things. So we got this and here, and some of these I'm just barely touching because they're very, very little, and I don't want to overwhelm these bubbles with too much color. That's just a little dot. And then again, I'm going to avoid that highlight. Barely touching at the tip of my bullet tip so that I am not getting carried away. And I try not to go too far to the edge because the color does, it does bleed a little bit. So if you get too close to the edge, then it can bleed into the other color and or out of the lines. So I try to stay just inside. Oop, and I just colored over one of the highlights. Exactly what I was telling you guys not to do. Oh well. Sometimes that happens. All right, so let me get this colored in. Honestly, you guys probably wouldn't have known if I hadn't told you about it. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do some die cutting first. I am going to cut this apart like so. And then we'll do some fussy cutting with the bubbles. But for right now, I'm looking to see, can I get my cauldron on this? Probably not. So I'm going to cut up this way and across so that I can get my cauldron on my little mini cut and emboss. So I'm going to just cut this out a little bit better so that I don't have to get out the big one. All right, so let's move this out of the way. And here's my cauldron die. And let me see, where did I put I've got my tape here, but I usually, oh, there it is. I usually reuse my tapes. So I've got this one. Okay. put it down here as well, making sure that I'm getting this lined up. And then we'll also do the same thing for the crow. So here is our crow die. So we'll go ahead and do that one. He is a happy crow. He kind of reminds me of, you know, like one of those crows that you would see on a cartoon. I can't think of what cartoon I would be thinking of, but he just looks like a friendly crow that maybe I have seen before. All right, let's bring our layers back in. And let me see if I can maybe do these both at the same time. I'm going to try. I think I can. So let me go ahead and get this in here the way that it needs to be. And we're gonna crank these both through at the same time. All right. So we have our crow ready to go, and we have our cauldron. There we go. All right, so let me move these off to the side. And I got a fussy cut the bubbles. I'll do that quickly, and then we'll be ready to assemble this card. Let me get the pieces off to the side here and take my snips again. Move these out of the way. And let's fussy cut some bubbles. So the bubbles are gonna go behind the cauldron. So literally I'm just gonna do a little wave around the bubbles. Turning the paper, keeping my snips fairly steady. And then we'll do this. I'm gonna get rid of this extra piece. It makes it harder for me to turn. And then we'll come down here. All right, there we go. Got my bubbles. All right, let's move this out of the way, and now we'll start to adhere. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I wanna put a little bit of glue behind here. I've got a nice little edge that I can do this. Let's go ahead and get our bubbles adhered to our cauldron, and they can be drying while we work to build the rest of the card. So I'm gonna go ahead, I've got this here. I'm gonna turn it this way just so that it has a chance to dry. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the designer series paper. Now there's a couple things that we do need to do on the designer series paper. So I'm gonna layer it up here, and I'm going to risk it. But typically I like to do my stamping before I glue anything down. But because I've got just a few little pieces that I have to stamp, and they're basically little splatters from the bubbles that pop, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get this layered down first, and that will allow me to maybe more precisely put where I want my splatters to go. You know what I'm talking about? When like a bubble pops, then you have like you see like this little poof of light. Well, that's what these are intended to be. Those bubbles are gonna pop, and you've got the little sparkles that come from that. So let me get this down, and what I do is I do the two edges first, get those lined up the way that I want to get them lined up. Okay, and then what I can do is I can take that last piece and I'm going to center it in between those two pieces. So let me go ahead and get that going. Okay, and I think I want that at the top. It looks kind of like clouds or something, I don't know. So let me go ahead and get this down, and let me get it scooched over the way that I want it so that it's lined up the way that I like it. And now what I'm gonna do before I put my kettle down, I do need to do some stamping. So let me see. I think what I'll do is I'll put the kettle down. I'm not gonna adhere it, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put the kettle down, so that will give me an idea as to where I want to stamp my little, and I'm gonna use the smaller ones So these are smaller ones, and I'm going to try to line my diamond up. It doesn't, I guess it doesn't have to be straight up and down, but I was kind of liking that. There we go. All right, so I'm going to pull out my Berry Burst ink, and I'm going to type or stamp Berry Burst on my Berry Burst piece. And I'm just going to do it right about, I think I'm going to do it right about here. Just straight down and straight up. Huh, that looks good. Okay, so we've got that. And then I'm going to bring out my Lost Lagoon, and I'm going to do a couple in Lost Lagoon. And then what we're going to do is, as soon as I get this down, I'm going to add some ribbon. So, and I'm going to show you what we did with the ribbon. So I'm going to stamp that. And let me see, I want it probably right about here. So straight down, straight up. Oh, yay, I like that. Okay, that's all I'm doing. Just those two little bubble bursts. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to do ribbon. So what I did is I took my black and white ribbon, or the new ribbon that Stampin' Up! Has is vanilla in black, but it will work as well. And basically what you do is you take your Stampin' Blends and you're going to actually color your ribbon. We're going to make it the color that I want it to be. So it's going to color the white. Now I'm not going to color the whole thing because it does take a bit of time for it to dry. So I've already done that ahead of time. I did it on my glass mat. Now I have Stampin' Blends on my glass mat, but again, all you have to do is take your chamois and clean that up. So that makes it very easy for me, but I wanted to show you how we did that. I've done that with the Berry Burst. I've also done it with the green, and I'll show you that on the next project. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the ribbon that I have, that I've already colored, and we're going to wrap it around the card. Now, I did bring it. Okay, so we're going to wrap it around the card. Now, sometimes you've seen me do this, and I use Scotch tape. I actually pulled out my Stampin' Seal tonight because I wanted to show you that you can do it with your Stampin' Seal as well. I don't use Stampin' Seal a lot because, of course, I like the glue, but to hold my ribbon in place, the Stampin' Seal is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I get this lined up the way that I want it lined up. I'm going to take some more Stampin' Seal, and I'm going to do it right here. And then I'm going to fold this over, and now my ribbon is in place. I can start building the rest of the card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this layer and I'm going to put it down on top of my white card base. So let's go ahead and get that done. Okay. And I want to make sure I get this centered because you can see there's quite a bit of white around this particular card. So I want to get this centered the way that I'm happy. Let's see, I think that's good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put dimensionals on the back of our cauldron. So we move this stuff out of the way so we can get our dimensionals on. And I'm going to need several because I'm not only doing my cauldron, but I'm doing my bubbles. Let's see. So there, here, and whoops, glad I had that here. And I'm just going to do one here. I say one. I'm going to put one in the middle, and I think I'm okay. I think I'll be fine here. All right, so let me go ahead and get the backs off of here. Did I get that? Nope. Got it. Okay. Move that off to the side, and then I'm going to take my cauldron and I'm going to line it up off to the side just a little bit. It's not going to be centered in the card. So I'm going to center it right about there. And then what I can do is I'm going to take my crow and we're going to put some dimensionals on the back of the crow so we can get him positioned. And I think I'm going to put one there. And then do I still have I've got my minis right here. he's got a little head, so I'm going to put a little mini up here and a mini down here. And then I'm actually going to glue his feet to the cauldron, so I don't need dimensionals on his feet. So let's go ahead and get these off. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of glue on the back of his feet. Okay. And then we'll get him poised appropriately. So let's put him right about here. Okay, so he's right there on the cauldron. Now I've got this piece of ribbon left. What I'm going to do is I'm going to thread it underneath the ribbon that I've already got. And this just helps me to save ribbon. Instead of wrapping around and trying to tie a bow, what I like to do is wrap it around, secure it, and then I can tie my bow with a separate piece and nobody knows the difference, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and get this bow tied and then we'll get it adjusted. What's going on? There we go. It's kind of acting funny. All right, so let me go ahead and get this going. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I don't need it quite that big. Okay, and then I'm going to take my ribbon snips because they're sharper. I only use them to cut ribbon, and I'm going to cut off that end, and I'm going to cut off this end. And now we've got our bow for it. And the last thing I'm going to do, oh, well, I guess we do need a sentiment, right? So we're going to do our sentiment the exact same way that we did the last sentiment. I thought I was almost done, but we've got to do a quick sentiment. And I'm going to stamp Happy Halloween in Versamark. And before I do that, I'm going to bring my tool set back in. Remember, we talked about this. I'm going to make sure that I get rid of all the excess static electricity and oils that were on my fingers so that I have a better emboss with the powder. And then we can go ahead and I'm just going to put this down at the bottom. I don't need the whole thing, so I'm going to cut it down. But now that I've got that stamped, and it's not very straight, but we'll fix that. I'm going to go ahead and clean this off. We'll bring out the embossing powder again. I'm going to grab a hold of this and tuck it in. Make sure I get a good coating on it. Okay, all nice and clean. There's a little bit up here, but I'm not worried about that up there. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring out my tweezers. The reason the tweezers come in handy is, first of all, they're silicone, but they can hold your piece while you're actually embossing, and you keep your fingers away from the heat. So let's go ahead and get this heated up real quick. And as soon as I see it start to change, I'm going to pull back. A little bit right here. Just double checking. Everything looks good. Let's see how fast that was. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to, do I freehand it? Yeah, we're going to freehand it just to speed things up. So I'm going to do this at an angle. So I'm going to angle it here, and I'm going to angle it here. And then I'm just going to take this and I'm going to cut it straight across. So hopefully I can cut it straight enough that it's not going to make that big of a difference. Yeah, that's a nice little banner. All right, so we're going to do that, and I'm going to put little dimensionals on the back of it because it's a little piece. And I'll do 3. And then we'll adhere this to the card. And then I'm just going to put some bling on it, and we will be ready to go with this card. So here we go. Happy Halloween. I just want to make sure I've got that straight enough. And then my bling is right here. Let's go ahead and bring this out. And got dimensional backings on that. Let's put one up here. We'll put another one down here. And then I'm going to put one more over here by the crow. Okay, there it is, card number 2. So fun, so fun. All right, last one. How fun is this gonna be? We are gonna make this little treat box. So fun. So basically what we've got is we've got a piece of 6x6 paper. We've got the 6x6 paper, and then I've got everything else prepared for us. So I'm gonna dump it out. And we've got the 2 ends. These are cauldrons that I've die cut. We've got, we do need to stamp our sentiment. So I've got a piece of basic white for the sentiment. I have a basic black label that was cut from the same set that all the other labels are cut from, Greetings from the Season. We have some messy hair this time around. It could be an overflow from the cauldron pot, but we're gonna call it hair this time. And then I've got his eyes. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get those glued together right now. And basically what I wanna do is I wanna put this together so that the bottom of the eye is covering the little slit that we've got in this, because these are really bubbles. They're bubbles, but we're gonna make them eyeballs. So I'm gonna take this one and we'll put it together like so. I'm gonna get it centered up. So we've got one eye, and then we're gonna do another one. We're gonna let those dry while we create the actual little treat box. So I'm gonna do again this one. We're going to cover up the little slit from the bubble, which is the highlight from the bubble. So I'm gonna get this centered. So now we've got our 2 eyes that we've created. This is actually going to be the mouth. Now, what was this before it became a mouth? I think maybe it was the handle on the cauldron. I think. But I'm making it a mouth. So I'm gonna take and I'm gonna snip this off, and I'm gonna snip this off. And now I have my mouth for my scary guy. So let's go ahead and let's just create him right now, and then I'll show you how to make the box. First thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get the eyes put on. So I'm gonna go ahead, well, before I do that, I probably need to put the hair on so I know where the eyes need to go. So this is actually the drip that comes from the potions that are made in the cauldron, but we're gonna use this as hair for our little Frankenstein critter. And I'm gonna go ahead and center this right about here. Okay, now what I can do is I'm gonna put, let's see, where do I wanna put these? Maybe I'll put these down and then I'll use my take your pick to help me get them placed, because I wanna get them placed in the right way. Okay, let's do this and let's do this. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to take the sticky end of my take your pick, and I'm going to pick up the eye, and I'm just going to put some glue down here. I'm not going crazy with the glue. I want to get this down, get that little glint of the eye off to the left a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing with this eye. Whoops. Get this glint over here this way. Okay, and then we'll use the tweezers to help us get the mouth down. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on this side, a little bit of glue on this side. Okay, and now we can put the mouth down. So now we've got a happy Frankenstein. And then I'm going to take my Stampin' marker. I'm going to take my black Stampin' marker, and we are going to create some scars. So I'm going to create a scar here, slash, 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 and then I'm going to create a scar here, slash, 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 slash. So now he's got some scars on him. So we've got that all taken care of. And now let's go ahead and let's create our box. So we've got a 6x6. I am going to bring in my trimmer. And basically what we're going to do is we are going to score this 2 inches all the way around. So 2 inches here. Then I'm going to turn it and I'm going to score it 2 inches here. I'm going to turn it, score it 2 inches here, and turn it again and score it 2 inches here. So basically I've scored 2 inches on every side. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take your snips and you actually are going to start cutting in on the score line. On each side. Up to the score line. So each side's going to have a cut. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, like, I need to go to the score line here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to angle this up just a little bit, just so the fold is a little bit easier. So I'm kind of doing that, and we'll do this on this side, and we'll do it on this side. Okay, and then basically what we'll do is we'll start to fold it. So we're going to fold these in, we'll fold this in, this up, this goes in, this goes in, this goes up, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to fold them in and we're going to glue it, okay? So I need to have glue on each one of these to go to the inside. So I'm just going to get glue here, I'm going to get glue here, and I'm going to glue them, bring them in to the center, and then I'm going to bring this one up, and that's glued, okay? Then I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on this one. I don't need a lot. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on this one, okay? I'm going to bring them into the center, and I'm going to bring this one up. Now I have my little box. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, this one looks like I need to trim it up just a little bit. Not quite sure why, but I'm going to be putting my front and back on, so I want to make sure that I get it shared up correctly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put glue, and I'm going to figure out which is my front and which is my back. So I'm using the one that I folded up to be my front and my back. So I'm going to put glue on the back here. And I'm going to take my cauldron and I'm going to center it in between. Get that centered. I can look at it from this edge and see that it's centered. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing for the front. And this time I'm going to center the front of my cauldron. So I'm going to actually turn it around this way. And now I have this cute little treat box to put treats in. So let me show you really quickly. Basically what I did is I took, Stampin' Up! Has these little folders. They're clear folders, and basically what I do is I put cards in them. So you've probably seen them before because I put my cards in them. Basically what you can do is you can cut this in half. When you cut it in half, it looks like this. And then if you use some transparent tape, and this is transparent tape, that's why you can't see it. But if you use the transparent tape, you can tape this edge closed, because remember, you've cut it in half. So you have two edges. Tape this edge closed, and then what happens is once it's taped closed, you've got a nice little bag. And in all honesty, I don't think you guys can see where the tape is. The tape is here, but it's transparent tape. I mean, if you look hard enough, you could probably find it. But basically then what I did is I put my little treats in it, and I actually colored another piece of ribbon in the granny apple green, and I would tie this up, and I'm going to cheat because I'm going to bring it out of here. But basically what you would do is you would tie it up with your bow, and then what we would do is we would take the tag that we've stamped Happy Halloween on, and I'm just going to show you really quickly when I stamp this. Let's see, where's my Memento Black? the way to get it to fit on the tag, because obviously the tag is much longer than the Happy Halloween, is I'm gonna go ahead and stamp my Happy Halloween, and I'm gonna go ahead and probably put it down right about here. There we go. And let me clean this off real quick. But you know what's going to happen. I'm going to take my snips. I'm going to cut my Happy Halloween in half. I'm going to trim it here. I'm going to trim it here. And then I'm going to trim this down so that I just got a little bit of this. So we've got Halloween, and we have Happy here. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to glue the Happy Halloween down on your tag. So a little bit of glue. The fun part is that nothing is straight here. So I'm going to put Happy up here, and I'm going to put Halloween down here. There we go. So now we've got our tag. So you thread it onto your ribbon, and then you've got your little treat bag closed up. You can put it in your little container. So isn't that cute? I haven't done it on this one, but you see how it works. Aren't they cute? How fun. If you've got, kids at school, or you've got grandkids, this would be a fun little treat to create for them. So let me bring everything back in. We've got our little 3D piece. I've got a nice little mess going on here. I'm just going to scooch it all off to the side. We've got the second card that we made with the Happy Halloween and the bubbles. And then we also have the first card we made, which was with the black cat and the moon scene. So fun. Let me come back, and I'm just going to visit you for just a second to say goodbye, remind you that this is a to-go class. All of the information for the to-go class is on my website at aprildaviscreations.com. If you like this set and you want the kit for free, all you need to do is place an order in my online store, and you will get the kit for free. It's the 3 pieces times 2. So you're going to get enough to make 2 cards each here, and enough to be able to create 2 little critters, little treat Frankensteins. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I love getting together with you guys on Thursday night and sharing, and I'll be back next week with a totally new set. Take care, everyone. Bye.